Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to this special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This is our March Picks of the Month video. If you're not familiar with this series, this is where we look at undervalued cards, and maybe if you have them on your wish list and you put it off for whatever reason, it's going to be a friendly reminder that you might want to pick up these cards sooner than later, because over the next maybe year, 2 years, or even less sometimes, they could be going up in value. We're going to look at a variety of cards today, a bunch of undervalued staples, and there is a slight theme to them. I guess the theme is they're all actually very popular in 1v1 Commander right now, but for the most part, you're going to find that all these cards are popular in a number of formats, which include everything from Vintage, Legacy, Modern, even some Pauper in here. So quickly before we get started, just a really fast reminder about this video. It does go out first to gold patrons. So by the time you see this on YouTube, a couple days may have passed. Prices could have shifted a little bit. I'm not anticipating any major price changes though for these particular cards. And with that being said, let's get into it. We're going to start off with some regular cards and then at the end of the video go into a few foils as well. But beginning with blue, we have Fact or Fiction from Eternal Masters. So I picked this one because you can still grab these for only 53 cents, and it has that Therese Nielsen art that I think looks awesome. Therese Nielsen's actually going to be in a couple cards on our list today. But will Fact or Fiction get a reprint? Of course it will. It's going to be reprinted probably at common in many, many sets in the future. However, one thing that this particular card has in common with some other ones we're going to see today is we don't know when that reprint's going to happen. By the time it happens, the card could grow maybe $1 growth, $2 growth. And even then, if it goes down in value a little bit, it's not necessarily going back down to 53 cents. This is one of the more affordable versions of Fact or Fiction, and it has one of the more sought-after pieces of art. Just thought it was a little bit undervalued. Force of Will. Okay, here's something a little more for high rollers now. The original one from Alliances, 7176. Now, here's another piece of Therese Nielsen art, and this really ties in with the reprinting that we saw from Eternal Masters, which was, again, Therese Nielsen art, but it was a new piece of art which looked really amazing. And a lot of people started gravitating towards that new version of the card because of that art. Now, this original version, a couple fun facts, this is actually an uncommon, but that doesn't matter too much considering the amount of play this season, like Vintage and Legacy, not to mention Commander, but also because of the fact that an uncommon back in those days still had a rather low print run when you compare it to today's Magic, right? So there's still not tons of copies necessarily of these things floating around. So with that being said, you know what? 7176 feels like a steal for this card. A lot of the spotlight's on the newer version, and a lot of people just kind of forgot about this one. Remand. $6.70 right now for the Modern Masters 2015 card. This is a card that sees extensive modern play, and if you haven't picked up a playset of this yet for whatever reason, this is one of the more affordable versions of the card. Again, just like Fact or Fiction from a few moments ago, will this get reprinted? Probably at Uncommon. Yeah, it probably will, but again, by that point, who knows what the price is going to be. If this goes up even $3, $4 and then takes a dip when it gets reprinted, it might go down to maybe $7, $8, $9. You might not necessarily be losing out picking these up today. Dismember. Modern Masters 2015 version, $3.06 currently. And this was a card I was hoping we would see in Masters 25. I know there's a long list of cards I was hoping would be there that were not. And New Phyrexia Mana, I think it's going to be tough for them to find good places to reprint. It will happen, don't get me wrong. But I think reprints of cards with this ability are going to be few and far between. So again, by the time we finally see this card again, even if it is at Uncommon, I think a lot of time is going to pass. Another card that sees extensive play in Modern, but also some Vintage and Legacy play too. Inquisition of Kozilek. Modern Masters 2017 version at $4.25, the most affordable version right now. Another card that sees extensive Modern play again, and another card that, yes, will get reprinted at Uncommon, I'm sure, in the future, although this has been printed at Rare before, so you never know. However, it might be a while. We saw a few printings of these in a short period of time. Makes me feel like they may try to work on some other things before coming back to this one. Thoughtseize from Theros, $16.85. So there's a couple things at play here. A lot of people just kind of skip the Theros version of the card. Now, there's a few reasons the price point of this one is lower than the other versions. First one being, Theros had a pretty high print run. So this is probably the most abundant version of the card that exists out there. So do keep that in mind. Secondly, though, a lot of people do seem to gravitate towards that original Lorwyn art, which can also be found on the Iconic Masters version. So even the Iconic Masters version, which is not very old, will cost you typically more than the Theros version at this point, which is kind of crazy to think. So at some point, you know what's going to happen? Thoughtseize, which of course sees extensive play in Modern especially, is going to keep creeping up. And eventually, someone's going to look back at this one and say, wow, this one is a steal for whatever it's valued at that point. And it's going to catch up with the others. That's just going to be the nature of what happens with this card down the road. So if you can find these for 15, 16 bucks, even 17 bucks, I think it's a good pickup. Dak Vaden, $13.99 for the original Conspiracy version. You can also get the Eternal Masters version for about the same price. But again, a card that sees extensive play in Vintage, a little bit of Legacy too, that I think a lot of people don't think about unless you happen to play in those formats a lot. But again, also is seeing a lot of like Cube and Commander play too. So, you know what, 14 bucks for this card I think is actually pretty awesome. And another card we don't really know when we're going to see this reprinted again. Wouldn't you want this beautiful Chrome Mox for just $19.95? I feel like this is a QVC commercial, but yes, Chrome Mox, Eternal Masters with beautiful artwork for under $20, or about $20 at this point. This card, again, sees playing Commander, Cubes. That's probably the reason it's grown as much as it has over the years. Does it still see play in other formats like Vintage and Legacy? Absolutely it does. But this is a card that I do think a lot of people just sort of overlook, and I do really like the Eternal Masters art on it. Alright, let's talk about a few foils. Starting off with Days from Eternal Masters, $9.77. So for $10 or less right now, you can get a foil Days. Granted, this was an uncommon. It wasn't all that long ago that the set came out, so there's a number of these out there in the marketplace, and that's why it's still pretty cheap. But think of your alternatives. Your other foil Dazes will run you a lot more than this. So again, if you get to the point where, you know what, a lot of players are on a budget, but they want foil versions of the card, this one has beautiful art on it too. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to grab this one. I guarantee this card is going to be closer to the $20 mark, probably within the next year or two. For Spike. Alright, here's another foil. You know, I picked a couple 7th edition foils here, and this one, $5.10. Remember when you're looking for this though, even though this is a white border set, the foils will actually be in black border. So a card like For Spike, which if you want to pick up a interesting, different take on the card, 7th edition always is that, but also in foil, for just about $5, also a card that sees play in Pauper, which is more and more popular, then I think this is a good one to pick up. Gitaxian Pro Foil, $12.71. Now, New Phyrexia again sometimes makes it difficult to reprint. Also, this was banned in Modern, which is kind of interesting because I think that helped keep the price point of this card down a little bit. If it ever becomes unbanned, this will probably jump up pretty intensely. Don't know when or if that would happen, but regardless, I still think this is a steal for $12, $13. Foil Memory Lapse, $6. Again, I went with another 7th edition one here. Very affordable card that again sees Pauper play, so you don't want to underestimate that. Miscalculation from Urza's Legacy. Foil, $10.88 right now. I realize this is a common, but those old foils can be very expensive at times, and to pick this one up for just $10, $11 feels like a huge steal. Another card that sees Pauper play as well, not to mention Commander play. Alright, I want to wrap things up really with two cards here on one slide, but this is Mox Diamond. Both versions here I think are good pickups. Stronghold, the original version, for $148.39, with the From the Vault Relics version right now worth $179.95. So why did I go in this direction? First thing it's important to note that Mox Diamond is actually on the reserve list. And even though this is a little more expensive to fork out, of course, almost close to $200, $150, $200 for these cards, the fact that it's never going to be reprinted again is a pretty big deal, especially considering that this card does see play in Eternal formats, but also right now very hot in the more spiky Commander decks too. So this card sees play and it's never being reprinted. That's it. Now, you may have the question, well, it did get a reprint. It was in From the Vault Relics. Well, funny story behind that. Years ago, there were actually different rules around the reserve list. Actually, Wizards changed the rules a couple times back in the early days of the reserve list, and this was one of those times. At one point, they actually said that cards that were on the reserve list that maybe never got a printing, say in foil, that perhaps they could still print them in foil in a specialty product or a promo version. And they did that a couple times with cards. But this was kind of like the last straw for that. When this got reprinted, there were some players that supported the reserve list that complained about it, and Wizards did change the rule. They said, you know what? going forward, Mox Diamonds and any other card, that's it. If they're on the reserve list, they're on the reserve list. The end. And since then, they have not done this again. So it did get at least a foil printing, although it is the specialty foil printing, which I know a lot of players don't like. But I also want to point out the art on it is awesome. Fantastic art. Stronghold art's not bad either, though. So whichever version you go with, and I realize it's a big investment, but hey, $150 to $180, that is going to only go up over time. And those are our picks of the month for March. Hey, let me know in the comments below any themes for this video series you'd like to see over the coming year. And if there's any good themes that we haven't done yet that I see down there, I will try to work them in over the next year. So, hey, until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.